happened before.
Descendants of these people are still living up there on the mountain?
They said they would be the foundation on which a new nation would be built.
From every mound, let freedom ring.
What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to my channel, to the 3 or 4 of you just beautiful sexual motherfuckers that might be watching this video right now. Hope you all are doing well. And today I'm going to be starting a new series which is talking about underrated horror gems. These are movies that I think were overlooked, underappreciated, that I think deserve some more recognition. And this is a series that I'm going to try to be consistent about whenever I feel like there's kind of a lull in new movies to talk about. So I thought that I would get it started with Wrong Turn 2021. This is the remake, reboot to the original Wrong Turn franchise, which I'm just going to be real with you. I'm going to expose myself, like full frontal male nudity here. I've never seen the original Wrong Turn movies. I haven't seen any of them. It's just one of those franchises that kind of flew under my radar, and I haven't really had the desire to go back and watch because I've heard nothing but bad things about almost all of them, and it just didn't really seem like it had anything to offer, anything new, I guess. They just look very, they look like low-hanging fruit in regards to slasher movies, so I just have never bothered, but I'm sure that I'll get to them at some point. So when I heard that they were doing a new one, I, like a lot of people, just kind of automatically assumed it was gonna suck. And how wrong I was, because this is a pretty fucking awesome movie, to be honest with you. It was supposed to come out in 2020, but was pushed, because of the pandemic, and, it was released in theaters for one night only in January of 2021. So they quite literally just put this thing out to die, and it's a shame because I think it's pretty awesome, and I'm going to explain why. So first off, I'm going to talk about spoilers in this video. So don't watch this if you haven't seen this movie, because there's a lot more twists and turns in this one than you would expect. And if you go in knowing what's going to happen, you're going to have a worse experience with this one. This is definitely one you want to walk into blind. So starting right off the bat with the plot of this movie, you got 6 friends that go to Virginia to hike the Appalachian Trail. You got Jen, played by Charlotte Vega, and she's with her boyfriend Darius, who's African-American, and there's another couple, and then there's a gay couple. And the reason that I specify that is because, well, for a couple of reasons. Number one, I've seen people calling this movie woke, which I don't understand at all. Gay people exist. Interracial couples exist. Like, I don't know what to tell you. That doesn't bother me at all, but the real important reason to kind of specify, like, how diverse these characters are is because of it kind of puts more context to what they're feeling as they show up, because they're in this bumfuck, middle of nowhere, like, town in Virginia with a bunch of, like, you know, redneck, like, white people everywhere. They're in this bar and they're getting, like, weird looks from people. And, you know, this guy comes up, he's like, y'all ain't from around here, are you? You know, and it's just, like, being a dick. So when they show up in this town before the actual horror has started, you already feel uneasy for them because of they're very much outcasts and they are definitely out of their element being in this town. And that kind of plays into one of the big reasons why I think this movie works, is because it keeps you guessing in regards to what is going to be, like, the main threat in this movie. Because they show up, these people are kind of being assholes. You can tell, like, they're giving them, you know, the stink eye, and just, you can tell that they're uncomfortable. And so you're thinking, all right, like, is it just going to be these, redneck people that are going to, go after them, or like, what's going on here? But when the shit really hits the fan, and once this movie, like, fully reveals what's going on, it gets really smart for a second, because it kind of plays into how we perceive people and how we're perceived, and what we see as barbaric, which is versus what they see as barbaric. And I'm trying to decide how much to really go into here, because you know what? Fuck it. I'll just tell you what's going on. So you have this group of people called the Foundation, who are it's this society of people who like went to live up in the woods in the 1800s. And, their goal was to kind of create this woodland society. So when America fell, they could be the new foundation, of which like a new society would be built. So there are these people that have been up there for centuries, just, living in this society, and they all work, they all have roles. They even talk about how, there's no poverty, there's no illness, everyone eats, everyone works, everyone's like friends, they all share. And it's funny because, Darius, Charlotte Vega's character's boyfriend, he talks about how one of his goals is to kind of make the world a better place by, creating, a society where like everyone works and is fed and everyone shares, and there's no, like prejudice, there's no discrimination. And so he's kind of talking about how, that is kind of the ideal world to him. And then once they get, up in the woods and they see the Foundation and how these people are living, yeah, I mean, absolutely it's barbaric, because they're killing motherfuckers and doing all this, gnarly shit. But they see that, they're like, oh shit, like, what are we to be judging these people by how they've, lived and all this, when, in a lot of ways they're doing better than we are. There's a scene in this where Charlotte Vega's character is, she's about to watch one of her friends be brutally murdered, and she says, like, stop, it's wrong, this is barbaric. And the leader of this cult, which, by the way, this guy, the first time I watched this movie, I swear to God, for a minute, I thought this was Bruce Campbell. Because this dude, like, knowing it's not Bruce Campbell and rewatching it, like, you can tell, okay, like, that's definitely not him. But, like, there's something about this dude's face and his vibe. I mean, in this movie, he's a, sick, like, nasty, disgusting motherfucker. But there's something about him. He's just, like, cool in a way. He's got kind of that, like, Bruce Campbell, like, cool look to him. I don't know, but he says, like, barbaric, like, who are you to call us barbaric? I've seen how your world down, like, below the mountain works with, prejudice and everyone, fucking each other over. Yes, we do, we have definitely archaic kind of ways of, like, living, and we are barbaric in some ways, but our society is doing a whole lot better than yours is. So I just like that they added that, like, element in this movie. You'd never think that a movie would kind of go there and, like, try to be smart in that way. And talking about kind of the horror elements of this movie, one thing that I really love is the gore and how they use it. Because if you're used to watching horror movies and, especially, like, really gory horror movies, how, like, there's two different kinds. There's the kind that is really over the top and just, like, buckets of blood coming at your face and at your butt crack, like, everywhere, but it's so over the top that it's unbelievable and becomes a little bit less scary. And then there's the gore where it's used more sparingly, but when they do use it, it's a lot more, like, effective and nasty and almost has this, like, real life quality to it. And that's what I think this movie does, is that it doesn't show you a lot of gore, but the gore that it does show you is really effective. For example, there is a scene involving a falling log and a dude getting pancaked against a tree. That's all I'll say. They don't show it happen. They just show the log falling and him screaming, and then it cuts. But you see his face later, and it's like just, I mean, literally pancaked. Like, it is nasty. It's an awesome effect. Like, he's over there, and he's like, oh. It's awesome. Like, it's one of those scenes where you look at it, and I've seen a lot of, like, horror movies. I've seen a lot of gore, but even that thing, like, that kind of stuff makes me wince, because it just looks so good. And then there's, you know, a lot of people getting their faces smashed in, and that looks really gnarly. As far as the cast goes, I thought they were all good. Charlotte Vega, I think, is one of those final girls that I hope we see more of, because I thought she really carried this movie. She's got a really, like, sweet, like, innocent quality to her where you want to root for her. But at the same time, she's, I mean, when she needs to be a badass, like, she's a badass towards the end. One of the people, and I'm awful, I can't remember the actor's name. It's Adrian something, I think, who plays Lewis in this, and he was really good. Like, as far as the six of them, he was the one that I bought the most as far as, like, you know, like, the terror, because he, you know, like I said, he loses his boyfriend. He's the one that gets fucking by the log falling, and, like, just his emotion in that scene. And then from then on out, when he has to really, like, you know, show how he's just, like, losing his mind and he's terrified, like, he did a really, really good job. As far as everybody else, I thought Darius, Jen's boyfriend, was okay. He had some kind of, like, corny lines, and that's something too, like, towards the beginning of this movie, these characters kind of come across as, like, annoying, just kind of like your standard, you know, horror movie, like, you know, like, assholes, like, fodder just to die. But as they went on, I actually started liking them a lot more. The only one I didn't like was the other dude in this crew of six, which I'll put his picture and his name up here because I feel bad not remembering. But he was okay. He was just like the loudmouth dude who kind of like gets them in some shit. And, you know, he for being that character and that guy in this movie, like, he did a good job. I mean, he's certainly not a bad actor, but I just didn't really enjoy him as much as the other people in this movie. And then you have Matthew Modine's character, who kind of bookends this movie and is shown, like, it flashes back and forth, like, in time to kind of show him as he's trying to find Jen. And I really enjoyed his character too. I just think Matthew Modine's a really good actor, and especially, like, the last, like, 15 minutes of this movie, 10 or 15 minutes, like I said, with this movie having a lot of, like, twists, like, literally, you have to watch until the very, very end, because it just keeps on, like, changing. You think that they've won, and then something else happens, and then something else happens, but not in that way that's, like, annoying, where it's like, oh my god, like, this movie just needs to end, because it really does keep you on edge. And I really, really enjoy this movie. Like, there's so much more that I could say. There are more kind of specific moments, but I really do want you guys to watch this. But as far as horror reboots go, this is definitely one of the best I've seen, and I would recommend this. Also, just know too that this isn't one of those, like, party horror movies that you're gonna want to, like, you know, throw on and watch with a lot of friends, in my opinion, because it does go so dark in some places. This is not a movie that is always fun to watch because of, like, the gore and because of, like, what's happening and what you're being shown. You're genuinely unsettled. And I think that's why this movie is effective, is because every horror movie should kind of give you that, like, ooey gooey nasty feeling. And this movie absolutely does that, I think. So if you guys haven't seen this movie, definitely check it out. There's really good gore, really interesting story that keeps you on edge, really, for the most part, likable characters, especially Charlotte Vega. I thought she did a really good job, and I hope that I hope we see her in more stuff. And yeah, so those are my thoughts on Wrong Turn 2021, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.